Agency of the future. So I think it's probably quite interesting. If you the panel you've got here is that I think this represents quite well what the agency of the future looks like. So I think the agency of the future really will be a combination of art and science. I think it will be a combination of automated, programmatically traded media buying that is driven by data, and on this side, very kind of immersive partnerships with media owners such as Guardian Labs, clients, a very big focus on partnership and multifaceted partnership, and a very big focus on telling stories through data and programmatic.
I think for us, we've got the same sort of market forces which are driving us. So primarily at The Guardian and sort of for all publishers, what we're now seeing is over 50% of our audience is coming via mobile. So therefore, for us, in terms of how we're shifting and therefore the output we're delivering for our partners, clients, as well as media agencies, is increasingly mobile first, and within that, video first, as well as interactives. Editorially now within the CMS, all of our journalists now have to approve, if you like, the content, the article, the feature, whatever it may be, in the mobile format first, before they then go on to look at it in desktop. And that's just happened over the last year. So I think it really is a sign of things to come. We now talk about being a mobile-first organisation rather than digital.
I suppose when I look to the future, the first thing I try to think about is, well, what's going to remain the same from what we have today? And without doubt, a marketer's challenges are the same. They want to differentiate to avoid commoditization. They want deep relationships with their customer. They want to be able to generate, huge top-of-mind awareness when they need to, and they want to deliver integrated marketing. So those things, I think, are still the same, and therefore there is a huge future for marketing services businesses. I think, but one of the other things that is really radically different now and in the future is that brands exist on an ecosystem of technology that is predominantly driven by data. So when we look at the talent that you need within an agency, it is far more from a technology, mathematical, data perspective. And you need to really consult with these clients and provide good advice in what is a hugely disruptive technology and digital landscape now.
You might think because I work for a technology company, it's easy for me to just say, well, everything needs to be built on top of certain types of technology, but I think that's only really part of it. If you look at the way that agencies and publishers are generally organized at the moment, is that they have largely existed pre a digital era. So they were set up for a particular kind of purpose. And again, in the main, they've evolved extremely well. It's quite difficult to keep up with things that are changing so quickly. But at the same time, you also need to make sure that you have an organization that doesn't it doesn't silo things. So you don't have a mobile experience. It's great at pulling on what Anna was saying. You don't have a TV-only experience looking at the TV panel that was in there earlier. The consumer connects all of those things. I think the agency of the future and the successful businesses of the future will have everything under consideration in the same way.
When we start working with clients, so when let's say we win a piece of business, we like the client to set the rules of engagement between us and the other agencies that they work with and the other partners that they work with, so that everybody's very clear about what their remit is in the whole scheme of things. Because as you say, there's a lot of crossover these days. So there's grey area where one person, we do content creation, but we're not a creative agency, and so on and so forth. So my personal view is it's the client's responsibility to set those rules of engagement. Yeah. I think that together, it's a good thing to kind of set a manifesto about how you want to work together at the beginning of a relationship, and then to always be checking in on whether you're actually delivering against that manifesto.
Yeah. I think I would agree with Josh that you do need pretty clear rules of engagement from the client in order to federate that, because technology and data really bridges many agencies. You can't say you own it as a medium. So it does require good leadership from the client, a good level of knowledge of the tools and partners that they work with.
There's also an issue with trust. But unless you can contextualize the information that you're getting, that transparency is to some extent obsolete. Because I also don't think that the marketers, particularly in the digital and especially in programmatic, are always talking about transparency. And they say, well, I don't want to give this budget to my agency because they're not going to tell me media cost. So we say to them, well, cool, what are you going to do with the budget instead? They say, well, I'm going to give it to Criteo. Like, well, that's fine. Are you asking them for the same kind of information? And the marketer's like, well, no, that's not how they work. You think, well, that's actually not fair. I'm not sure that the world necessarily has to be fair, but you've got to have a level playing field. If you're a marketer, you've got a lot to deliver against. You can't just sort of throw money around willy-nilly and asking different people for different things.
From your point of view, do you see that transparency is an issue, or do you see that the way that's going to happen in the future, that the relationships that you have with clients are easily navigable, and how do you make the money that you make?
You know, I think from a branded content perspective, it is very transparent. We've got production costs, and then we've got the media costs of distributing that content on and off Guardian platforms. I think the bigger challenge for us, and probably media agencies as well, is proving the ROI on that content and the appropriate metrics to measure success and therefore value. What we're finding at the moment is, in the majority of cases, people are still trading branded content in the same way as they would digital display. So they're measuring it in terms of the number of guaranteed uniques, maybe the average dwell time. Whereas actually, if you look at the ultimate benefit of branded content, more often than not, it builds over time. It's about awareness, perception shifts. So for us, that's one of our biggest challenges, trying to shift the mentality from seeing a partnership as a commodity that you trade in the same way of other sort of media space and media channels.
We're in the business of persuading consumers to buy products from our clients. And you can persuade people to do things in 3 different ways. You can give them logical reasons why they should buy things. And generally when you do that, they think of logical reasons for why they shouldn't. You can force people to do things, and they will cross their arms and say, I don't want to be forced to do some things. Or you can tell people stories. And when you tell people stories, they get more emotionally engaged, and they're more likely to be persuaded to do the thing that you want to do. And that is a very good combination of people and technology.
In the future, if you're all about data, is there a danger that you actually create a fire hose of data that becomes increasingly complex?
There is a wealth of data, and it's a job of consultants like ours and analysts to make sure that we mine that and we find the data that's meaningful, and we focus that on something that's beneficial to both the customer and the marketer. Whether it is to drive sequential storytelling or this, it's our key job. What I do think is a great potential we have with the data that we have, what we have with artificial intelligence is those beautiful stories that can respond to you as an individual and what you care and love about. It's going to become all the more possible. And I think it's probably not the answer yet, but the question that Facebook's Messenger is asking about can we have relationships on a marketing basis through machines without shall we say creative and content intervention is a really interesting future to be working with.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is a future with regards to any marketing that isn't 100% data-driven one way or another. Even the most creative and well-thought-through brand campaign is still regarding who they're targeting and for what reason, and they're measuring reach. They're measuring some other kind of metric, which is involving data. But data, when it's coupled with, I think, where the real core skill sets of agencies have always lied, which is relationships. It's supposed to elevate the human so they can spend more time thinking about those things, and then when you tell it what to do, it does it in a seamless fashion. That's the idea.
What is the graduate recruit of the future going to look like? What do you want from universities to deliver for you?
Great.
Yeah.
Lovely question. Lovely question.
There is so much talent out there that traditionally has been untapped because we've gone to quite traditional universities for graduates. And there's just so many brilliant people out there that we don't necessarily get exposure to. So now we try and bring people in from all walks of life, from universities, but also from outside of universities and all over the country into our selection days, so that we can tap into that.
So the workforce it's global, it's hugely diverse. In terms of our diversity figures, small company, but we've got staff from 16 countries and
Good.
14 different languages
Good.
To serve our business. So the graduate of the future, for me, they're without doubt, no matter what discipline that they're going to be working in, whether it's in marketing or whether it's in data science, they will have a grasp of computer programming, of data analysis.
Why do I need the agency of the future? Is there a need for one if my job's a brand, and what I want to do is work and talk with my customers, and I can get them to them more directly than ever now, using all the different digital channels. Why do I need an agency?
I mean, I think it's interesting because we've had a big debate internally about where our future revenue is going to come from. So clearly in terms of channel, you know, we've actually laid out very, very clearly that in terms of the future of The Guardian, it's not going to be display, but it's going to be content. Programmatic and data, but content, and also for us it's membership, a paid-for membership model of some shape or form. So we're very clear about that, and we're building plans now to, you know, increase our skill sets in those areas. Now, interesting, what we are seeing is clients more and more want to come in and talk to us direct. So we are beginning to run a lot of really training, I'd like to say free, sadly, but a lot of immersion sessions and training because people want to understand our audience, The Guardian's audience, from the experts. In other words, our data people who understand our audience through our live data, our editorial teams because they're so in tune with what our readers are thinking. So increasingly we do that, but because at the moment a lot of it still comes down to the analysis, the value, the ROI, 9 times out of 10, the client, even if we have a direct relationship, will funnel it back through the media agencies.
You know, I agreed with Martin Sorrell yesterday that, you know, we're not in the advertising industry. You know, we are still 100% in the communications business, for sure. I think there are many things that clients can and should do direct, and the role of, you know, marketing services, businesses and consultancies is to aid them and educate them and help them to do that. There are other things that they will need to do at scale or that have certain complexities where they will need, again, I'm not going to say agencies, marketing services, businesses to assist them with, who understand either the technology, the scales that they need to deal with.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for taking time to be with us this afternoon. Thank you very much to my panel.